Here.
Mr. Perry?
Here.
Ms. Sedman?
Yes.
Mr. Schnee?
Present.
Mr. Urban?
Here.
Mr. Vogt?
Here.
Ms. Wakes?
Present.
Mr. McGinley?
Present.
All present.
Okay. Moving on, additions or deletions from the work session agenda. The motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Ms. Saban,
No, Jane.
Ms. Wakes. Second,
Second.
Mr. Perry. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We're going to ask the people from the Friends of Camp Louise to come up to the podium, please. They've been kind enough to wait through about an hour and a half, so we appreciate your patience. This is something we've been corresponding with back and forth for a little bit, right?
Pardon?
We've been corresponding with you back and forth a few times.
A little bit, yes.
Yeah, so thank you for coming in this evening.
My name is Georgianne Davis, and this is Susan Eichhorst, and we represent the Friends of Camp Louise, which is a 501(c) organization formed from former camp staff, alumni, and friends of the former Camp Louise. Now, Camp Louise was the camp for Penns Woods Girl Scout Council, which was Luzerne, Columbia, Northumberland, Schuylkill, Carbon, and parts of Wyoming County. When Girl Scouts in the heart of PA took over, that camp still ran, and that camp was full up until the time they closed it and stopped resident camp. In 2016, they abruptly closed the camp for good, and last year they decided that they were going to sell it. We have formed this group, and we are applying for a land acquisition grant through DCNR. What we're asking of your group is if you would write us a letter stating that you are in favor of us getting this grant. We need to have from all the counties and municipalities around.
Good. So you're looking for a letter of support
A letter of support, yes.
and no other obligation from
No
the
other
county?
obligation, no.
Thank you.
We are asking the public in general for donations, as we do have to pay for this camp, and the
Right.
council has asked a phenomenal amount of money for it. The other thing that we're asking for are what we call in-kind donations. And what we would like are, as well as funding, if you know any companies, businesses, people in general that would like to just outright give us a donation, we'll gladly accept it. If you want to make sure that we have the camp before you give us donations, do an in-kind sheet for us, and we will not accept your donation until we've got the camp. We're looking for building materials, people that can help us with, the camp has been badly physically neglected, so we need to build up all the buildings, restore them, etc. It is a historic landmark at this point. We have not gone through the hoops to get a certification, but they have been given worldwide attention for their architecture. And so we're looking for lots of things, but that's all on a personal donation basis or company's donation. We will have programs such as nature programs, school-type programs, all having to do with the nature. It's a wetlands area. There are endangered species on the area. We also have deciduous tree forests on the property. So there's a lot at stake. We're working with the foster programs to reunite foster children who are homed in different families, brothers and sisters separated. We're going to have weekends at camp for those groups. We've been told that there are, not just in our area, but in many different areas, a need for disabled people with different handicaps, physically, mentally handicapped. Between the ages of 18 and 30, there are very few programs that are available, so we've been told. So we're going to run some programs for the special needs people. We're going to run some programs for elderly people, as well as day camps for some of the younger kids. And so it's going to take a lot to get us started. It's going to take a lot to maintain what we need. So if anybody can offer up any help, please go to our website, or our Facebook page. There is a commitment letter, and you can fill that out. Send us, if you have any ideas or suggestions, let us know. But right now, what we need immediately are the letters of support to come in.
Thank you. Questions?
I have a couple. So right now you say the land is owned by someone else?
Girl Scouts in the heart of PA
All right,
own the camp.
all right,
They have recently put it on the market.
okay.
We are looking to purchase it with a matching grant through DCNR.
How much are they selling it for?
They want 1.1 million for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We offered them, I don't know if we could say this, but we offered $850,000.
What's it zoned right now? Is it zoned forest?
It's probably zoned forest land. It's surrounded either by farmland on one part and state game lands on two of the other parts.
What township is it in?
Pardon?
What township is it in?
It's in Briar Creek Township in Columbia County.
Oh, it's in Briar Creek in Columbia County, okay.
But
That'd be
Luzerne County was the biggest footprint of the people that went to
Yeah,
the
okay.
camp.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm familiar with that area.
Some of you may have, I don't know.
Mr. Haas,
any
did
of
you
the
have a
women
question?
went.
Yeah.
I do, if I could, Mr. Chair?
Sure.
Yeah, thanks for coming, ladies. I've gone, actually, I've never been in there, but
Thank
I've gone
you.
up over the mountain. I know what you're talking about.
Great.
So, a couple things. So the Columbia County Commissioners have offered their support?
Yes.
As well. They've sent the
We have a
letter.
letter.
Fantastic.
And also from Carbon County.
And Carbon as well? Yeah.
I don't think we got Schuylkill County yet.
Okay.
But we do have the Borough School District, and we
Good.
also have the Borough.
Borough.
Fishing Creek? Is it Briar Fishing Creek, isn't it? That's where it's at?
It's in Briar Creek.
It's in
Township.
Briar Township.
Have you?
Fantastic. And secondly, have you acquired partnerships that they've committed funds or resources to this as
We
well?
have
Have anybody
several.
mentioned?
Several partnerships that have committed so far. We also have letters out to others, and we're hoping that they also commit.
Good. Last thing I want to suggest too, going forward, I hope this works out for you, that we have Marcellus funding here. We have grants every year you can apply for something just like this. Oh, it's outside of Luzerne County.
Yeah.
Check with Columbia County, they might have something about that, sorry.
Two more. Have you approached the Back Mountain Land Trust at all?
Back Mountain Land Trust, did we talk to
We
them?
have not talked to them.
I think
yet.
there's a good source.
We were
Branch.
talking with a different.
North Branch,
another
North Branch,
land
yeah.
trust, but we
And-
will, I'll write that down.
And the other one is the Luzerne Foundation. They give money all over the country.
Luzerne Foundation, I
Yeah.
think they've been in contact with them.
Yeah, they give money all over the country, not only just in this county, but all over the country, millions. Millions. I was surprised to see how much money they used to county for the Luzerne Foundation.
I think, Mr. Urban, correct me, you mean the North Branch Land Trust?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard that.
North
come up.
Branch, yes, we have
We
that.
have that.
Okay, well, that's,
Yeah.
you send them back now because.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll be on our voting meeting in the first meeting in March, March the 12th. And I expect from the comments tonight, you'll probably get your letter shortly thereafter.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Swets.
Thank you. In your packet is the January financial reports. As I mentioned at our last time that we gave budget reports, so not the last meeting, obviously the focus is on 2018, closing the 2018 year. When we met with the Budget, Finance, and Audit Committee, we talked to the auditors about really one close and having everything be an audit entry after that. So we're working on, and we've been working on, so after the close of the actual invoices, we've been working on the purchase orders, cleanup, journal entries since last week, so that this Friday they could have a final trial balance and everything would be an audit entry after that. So even in this January report, the 2.4 million, almost 2 million of that is taxes, and that's one of the things that's a 60-day period. So that'll end up in 2018. The part from 17 will go out. So these were the numbers and the reports that we had as of the time. We will monitor them February going closely. We have our budget analyst, Danielle, who actually ran the reports. But most of the focus in the department right now is really on finalizing 2018 and getting things ready for the auditors to be on site, which for the county is the 11th, and for some of the agencies that are 12/31 is March 4th. So rapidly approaching.
Very good. When I looked through the report I notice that most of our insurance bills seem to be billed out already.
Yes, most of our insurance bills are billed out. When we got the estimates, a lot of them you'll see 95%, 99%. So a lot of the bills through Brown & Brown, who is the broker we use, are for the whole year. Similar to some of our expenses for New World and things like that, where we pay for the whole year at one time. So yes, most of the insurances are for the whole year.
A couple seem to be a little bit over the 100%.
I think what happened was the same thing we had with CCAP. We get an estimate, we talked to the personnel, and CCAP said use 5%. I think we're over by like $100. The 5% is the average. It's obviously not for each county. So we had Michelle Sparridge call and get the best estimates, but yes, some of them we will need to do entries for. Obviously, we needed to get the bill paid for the whole year.
Questions,
Yeah.
Mr. Swets?
There was an article in the paper about the prison population coming down. Okay, and has the prison budget come down in relationship to the population?
It's a good question. I haven't really seen it. I know Mr. Rakovich obviously would know more about it than, obviously I know the number side.
Right.
I haven't seen great change
All right.
in the numbers, but it's one of the things that the task force and Mr. Rakovich touts. So I will look through and see, some of the overtime and some of the other things, because again, if we have less inmates, we're paying over $100 a day, as you well know. If we have 100 less inmates at less than $100 a day, it should be pretty easy to see it.
Right.
So-
And if you haven't seen it, I mean, so.
I haven't in this
population's down,
period.
But the budget remains the same.
Correct. So and again, if we have,
Yeah.
if it's sustainable, and if we see it in the next one, we'll come up and say, hey, council, we have, this kind of savings, we could reallocate it. But I haven't seen it to this point. I will say, just like Mr. Listman, some of the bills don't always come in right when,
I know.
so, but I understand your point.
Yeah, the expenses are there, but the population's down, so
The expenses should go down. I
they should.
agree
But
100%.
sometimes they don't.
But the expenses are based on the personnel as well as the supplies and things that we use, so. I mean, I could see maybe your meal expense would be going down somewhat, uniforms, that kind of thing. But
Right, it's
pretty
not,
much-
it's not gonna change
Yeah.
the man hours in the
Yeah.
prison. but
Personnel's
it
not
could
gonna
be-
change
yeah,
greatly.
right.
Maybe because the man hours are based upon population. You need so many COs per population in a facility, so.
Oh. Ms. Howe?
Question, since you brought up the audit. I don't know if you can answer this or
Sure.
not, but are we making any progress with the missing money from children and youth?
I can tell you a little bit because again, as you're aware, they don't report to me. I do talk to them. Audit is obviously under my purview. They have been working on it, but I've been focusing. I could tell you on our side, I talked to Mr. Hartzell last week and have a call basically every 2 weeks on the 5.6 relating to the county and children and youth. So I talked to Mr. Hartzell, put some more documentation that he requested in the portal relating to the county and children and youth on the 5.6. I know, as you heard from the manager last week, they were working on closing the year. I don't know how far they got on the 2.4 from children and youth. But I can definitely, by the time we have the next meeting or even beforehand, follow up and see where we're at. Also, by the time of the next meeting, both auditors will be on site.
Okay.
So maybe we can, we should get it in
Question
the
with that,
update.
Question. I mean, is it the council that pays for the audit? Shouldn't the auditors be reporting to
Yes.
the council?
Mhm.
And we had that discussion
Yeah.
of the
Right,
audit. when we
They
met
do
with the
report,
auditors.
Yeah, you
they
get
do
the
report to the
report,
audit.
yeah.
Well,
Well,
they should be. They're
yeah,
not.
except that at the end of the last audit, they did, they sent
Right.
it all to management. We had
Right.
that talk with the auditors.
I mean, the auditors
Yeah, why
should,
don't you-
should know clearly who they're
Yeah.
working for. They're working for the council and not the manager. It's the
They are
council
working for the
that-
council. It's
that
part of
hire
our
them.
budget
Then-
and
then
it's
they
We
part
should-
of our
did
responsibility.
we reinforced that
All
when
right,
we met
all
with
right.
them, that
Okay.
they need to communicate with us. And certainly management needs to be in that loop,
Oh,
but
sure.
it needs to come directly to
Yeah,
council.
they send updates once they start the audit project. What's
They're
been
on site.
requested, when it's been requested, when it's been turned in. So we have a constant updates there weekly.
But the children and youth auditors are not working for council.
They're working for.
They're working for children, youth, for the manager. So, I mean,
Right, okay.
that's the component audit.
All right.
Right.
And we have different children and youth auditors this year because of the 4-year
Correct.
situation. Anything else from Mr. Swets? Thank you.
Sure.
Moving down to council committees, ABCs, Mr. Keller.
We had a successful interview session on Thursday, as you know. We'll set up another one for the end of March and find this time that's appropriate for our two other members, Mr. C and Attorney Seidman, and hope to find, we have some more people who have already showed an interest, by the way. And they couldn't come to the last meeting because of conflict. So I hope to have another successful meeting in March, or we hope to have another successful meeting.
Very good. As far as the budget, finance, and audit, we did not have another meeting, but now that the auditors are going to be on site, I think it's time then we meet with them, particularly the people who are working on the money that's in question. So what, they're going to be here the first week in March?
County is the second week.
Right.
Children and youth, I believe, is the first week.
So what,
They'll both be here at a minimum the Monday before the next council meeting.
well, I think we want to meet with the people who are doing the children and youth audit to see where they are with that. So if we could set that up, we'll get a date and send that out to Ms. Hauk and Mr. Perry to see if we can coordinate that. And then I still would like to have a meeting with the IT department to see the items that were identified by the auditor.
We sent that list to IT, so we could add that to your meeting.
Yes,
Whether it's
so
a
Mr.
serious-
Parsnick, since that's one of your departments, we'd like to have that included. Okay? So if we can get that date and get it out so that we know when it'll be and what, when people are available. Other than that, we haven't had another meeting. Legislator, Mr. Haas?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Legislative Committee met at 4:45 tonight, just before the swearing in and regular council meetings. Two big issues were the legislative roundtable, and this year, Councilwoman Seidman came up with a great idea that perhaps we can partner with Luzerne County Community College, and they do the hosting the seminar every year, and perhaps we can have a seat at the table. And as we go forward, Council, any ideas that you have that you would like the Legislative Committee to pass forward about initiatives you'd like to see the state do, feel free to let us know. Again, just to recap, we're looking at full payment of the state and federal government for voting machine costs, 911 funding. We've got that element coming up. Restoring the judicial cuts from 2 years ago. The state cut $250,000 out of our magisterial budget. And even talked to our sheriff afterwards as well, and bringing up the trainings that they have not been restored from a cut from 2 years ago, or they haven't been funded. And then the stormwater fee, which a lot of residents are having concerns with. So anything else that council members would like, we'll gladly funnel that through. And Sheila's going to talk to President Leary with LCC in the future, and we'll move forward on it. So thanks, Sheila. It's a great idea. Secondly, Mrs. Howe brought forth something for council, and I don't know if it's, Sharon, is that everybody's packet or just the legislative committee's
Just
one?
legislative.
We all got the email from it, and we thought we could refer it to the council at large, and for some action, we thought it was a good idea. Unless,
So
Sheila,
we'll
anything
refer it
else
to
I'd like
the
to
work session for the next meeting? Is that what
I
you-
think that's fine, very
Okay.
appropriate.
Okay.
Just one follow-up.
Steve?
Ms. Kokomo, you were supposed to draft up some legislative changes a couple months ago. Is any of that done?
It's not finished,
Okay,
but I'm working on it.
all right, okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Wakus?
Yes, we have not met in a while. However, we're going to. We're waiting on estimation of fair market value from a real estate appraiser on approximately 56 properties. The law, as we know, because we've gone all through, well, it seems like we've been talking about this forever, because we have. Part of the process is this: if a property is valued at $10,000 or above, we have to have a certified appraiser take a look at the property. The good thing is most of these are parcels. They don't have structures on them. So we're hoping the process moves along pretty quickly. And once we receive those values, the real estate committee can sit down with the county assessor, because the county assessor has to be part of this mix. And also county council must weigh in on the values. So the feeling of the committee is, because we talked about this months ago, once we have all this completed, the committee will get together, look at the list, and talk about possible values, and then bring it to a work session, and you will have the complete list. and we will explain, our reasoning for each property. We were hoping, Ramilda, you may want to talk about the process for putting it out eventually for public sale, but unfortunately, it's going to take a little bit longer than we had first anticipated, because everything takes time.
We have to do those calculations
Yes.
for the starting bid.
Right.
And then, once we get that and we get values, the council will see it and approve it, and then we can move on to the actual auction. There are notice requirements for that. We don't want to advertise at the same time that there are other sales going on, so we have to time things specifically. Then we have to actually think ahead if the properties are not sold at auction, how we're going to deal with those properties.
Right.
So that's where we're at.
So all this is deliberation, which council will be involved in. All the real estate committee can do is make recommendations, but it's up to council to decide ultimately how to, carry through with this. But we want you to know we are working on it. It's just taking longer than we had hoped at this point, which is why we really haven't met for a while, because
Thank you.
we're waiting. You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Strategic initiatives, Ms.
Well,
Hauk?
we have not met, and I guess the question is, do we have any number on this?
I think we're going to ask Mr. Bilbo to go in place of Mr. Borinsky there, so he will be the new member for your committee.
Great, okay, so we'll schedule a meeting probably sometime in March, I would
Okay.
think.
I'll be happy to make the list.
Great. And the county code review, we have not met, but we do need to, because we have the information from the administration for the administrative code. So we'll set up a meeting in March.
Okay, very good. Moving down to the council-related committees. Blighted property, Mr. Haas?
Yes, sir. Blighted Property Committee will meet next month, Monday, March the 25th at 5 p.m. And otherwise, nothing really to report.
Okay. Riverfront Parks Committee, they had a meeting last Tuesday night. Unfortunately, I was not a member of that meeting that night because we had a meeting Tuesday night. But I did inform them, and they said they would contact me when they have the next meeting scheduled. On the Plain Township TIF, there's been no other information or any other meetings set up since back before the end of the year, so there's been no change there.
Mr. Chair, you can, I'm sorry to chime in here, but regarding the Riverfront Parks Committee, you can remind the members there that we allocated funds specifically for the riverfront this year, that
Yes.
we can build that up, and I don't know if,
They're aware of that.
yeah. if-
They're aware of the fund, they're always aware of the funds.
Yeah, they're always aware of the funds, just making sure, so that's our role. And again, in tandem with management, of course, and I'm sure Buildings and Grounds are looking at that as well.
We're now at the point for the Act 13 grants. When we passed that information back last year, we said we would have a committee review the grants, the applications, and then bring that back to council. So we need some people to volunteer to serve on that committee. We said we would do that beginning March 1st, which happens to be Friday. So we need to have some volunteers so that we can have that committee set up, so that we can bring back the information for April to award those grants. So if I don't have any volunteers currently, that's fine. I'll contact people and solicit people to serve in that committee so that we can get that moving, so that we can get those grants in place. The solicitor's office has already reviewed them, so that, for any technicalities, et cetera, so that's been done. So we're at the point where the council starts to be involved, okay?
Another great opportunity for Mr. Bilbo to get his feet wet, if he wants to serve on the committee, so.
Mr. Bilbo, Harry.
How many requests are there, Mr. McGinley?
Everybody seems to be volunteering Mr. Bilbo.
Yeah, Bilbo, yeah.
I thought that normally happens to the people that don't show up at the meeting.
Yeah.
You give.
Mr. McGinley, how many requests are there?
How many do we have, Sharon?
I would say approximately 10 or 12, maybe?
10 or
Oh,
12?
that's not bad.
Okay. And, we had,
Yeah, not bad.
okay?
Mr. Chair, just a question, and, Ms. Hall retired, Janet Hall, she was a great director. Tourist Promotion Agency, she really tried to promote this county. One of the things she came to us with several years ago was that train station that's sitting over there continuing to rot away. Has there been any movement by the county to maybe acquire a lease of that facility in the event that it is fixed up, or do we just take that off the table?
Well, if there was a lease, we'd have to come to council.
Right, I mean, is there
Right.
anybody talking with them about a lease?
I'm not aware of anything, but we certainly can ask the question and find
Maybe-
out.
Maybe you should do that as the chair.
Okay?
Talk to the owner and see if it's fixed up. you
No
know,
problem. We'll get you an answer.
You can invite Mr. Morelli down with his son and.
Mr. Morelli? Okay.
He was.
We can do that.
He was big into that too, so.
Okay. Public comment. The motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr. Urban?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Saban, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Urban, you're going to have, put your name in highlights.
See that? That's me.
I told him he'd have to vote for the minutes next time.
Yes.
He's in it all the time.
He has his name